We are diving straight into our NFL DFS breakdown for the Super Bowl rematch slate, and we are building around the clearest ceiling plays while staying honest about matchup difficulty and paths to value. We are starting at quarterback with Sam Darnold from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 100 with a projection of 18 at a 16,200 salary. And what pushes us over the top is the recent form plus the game narrative. He dropped 30 fantasy points one game ago, and the news flow backs the resurgence. He just won his first ring with Seattle, and multiple pieces have detailed the revival arc, including Essentially Sports noting a Hall of Famer, crediting a past coach for restoring his confidence after the Super Bowl LX win. In a tough defensive matchup, we still like Darnold because he pairs cleanly with our top wideout, and Seattle just solved this exact defense on the biggest stage. We also like Drake May from New England against Seattle, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 99, projection 21 at 16,500, with steady recent outputs of 16, 17, and 19, and a 22 fantasy points per game season line. The why here is twofold. First, he has already shown he belongs at the top tier, with national coverage highlighting that he narrowly missed 2025 MVP to Matthew Stafford and led New England to the Super Bowl. Second, in DFS construction, he is the clean run back to Seattle stacks, and his projection actually edges Darnold despite the tougher opponent rank, giving us leverage in lineups that flip the game script. At running back, we want Kenneth Walker III from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 82 with a 16-point projection at 14,700, and the recent spike week of 39 2 games ago is exactly the kind of ceiling we chase in tournaments. The news matters here. He was the Super Bowl LX MVP, and several reports noted he immediately hit the Disney celebration circuit the next day, with follow-up coverage on his free agency spotlight. Translation for DFS purposes. The team just leaned on him in the highest leverage game of the year, and he retains the touchdown equity that we want even against a strong defense. We are pairing that with Ramondre Stevenson from New England against Seattle, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 82 with a 16-point projection at 13,200, and he sits at a steady 13 fantasy points per game, with recent outputs of 7, 12, and 16. Why Stevenson here in a tough matchup? He remains the early down and red zone tone setter. He made his first Super Bowl run last season, and team-focused pieces this offseason still frame him as a core back, despite roster churn. In a likely lower margin game, we value his path to volume and short yardage opportunities. At wide receiver, our core play is Jackson Smith-Njigba from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 100 with a 27-point projection at 11,600 and a strong 23 fantasy points per game baseline. Recent outputs of 34, 11, and 14 confirm the week-winning upside. The why here is airtight. Multiple outlets have emphasized that he took over as Seattle's primary receiving threat and played the biggest role ever by a receiver for a Super Bowl-winning team. Fresh off those Super Bowl heroics, we expect Seattle to continue featuring him, and the Darnold to JSN stack remains the highest upside correlation on the slate. We also like Mac Hollins from New England against Seattle, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 73 with an 8-point projection at only 5,400. He offers salary relief with a realistic path to 5 to 7 targets in a game where New England must answer Seattle's scoring. Buried Coverage has pointed out he led the team with 78 yards off 4 catches in a key spot late last season, and with May's poise, Hollins is a clean bringback or a value one-off when you need to open salary for JSN or Walker. We will note Rashid Shaheed from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall, as a tournament flyer at 6,300 with a dash rank of 92 and a 10-point projection. The why is simple. He is one of the league's most dynamic return specialists and vertical threats, and features highlighting his unsung hero impact underscore his ability to swing a slate with one splash play. At tight end, we like Hunter Henry from New England against Seattle, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 93 with a 10-point projection at 10-500. We like him because he remains May's trusted red zone option, and Sportsline's prop model specifically highlighted him among their top Week 1 tight end targets. In a difficult matchup, touchdown paths matter most at tight end, and Henry's role fits that profile. We also like A.J. Barner from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall. At 7,200 with a dash rank of 90 and an 8-point projection. This is a salary-conscious play in lineups that stack Darnold and JSN. With coaching shifts reported after the Super Bowl run, there is room for usage tweaks, and Barner gives you access to a correlated touchdown at a discount when defenses sell out to slow JSN on key downs. At kicker, we prefer Jason Myers from Seattle against New England, who have a tough defense overall. The dash rank is 60, with an 11-point projection at 8,100, and his last 3 of 7, 11 and 8 reflect the exact profile we want against a stingy defense that forces field goals. The news is on our side, too. He just hit 5 field goals in the Super Bowl, the most ever by a kicker on that stage, and there was even public debate over him as MVP. In tough, lower touchdown environments, Myers is a slate-settling piece. For a bringback, Andy Borregales from New England against Seattle, who have a tough defense overall, projects for 9 at 7,500. Coverage across the offseason emphasized he became the primary kicker immediately and posted 126 points at an 86.7% success rate as a rookie, which gives us confidence in his floor of Seattle Titans in the red zone. On defense, we lean Patriots at 6,000 with recent fantasy outputs of 12, 7, and 5. We are playing the bet that their top 10 overall profile can force Darnold into a couple of field goal drives and a mistake or two after a long championship run. The opponent rank flag reads middle-of-the-pack defense overall, but our defensive choice hinges on pressure, red zone stands, and a possible hangover spot after Seattle's title. We are building core stacks around Darnold with JSN and Myers, running back with Henry or Hollins and Borregales, and rotating Kenneth Walker and Stevenson, depending on salary and contest type. The slate's best single piece is JSN, because the dash rank and projection align with the news-backed role change, and that is exactly the why we want to pay up for him even in a tough defense matchup.